Welcome into Skirmish League Live and to the first event of Season 3. I'm your host, Romulocks, and this broadcast is a special season preview and serves as the official power rankings for Free Infantry's USL Season 3. We've had a lot of movement in the league during the off-season, not only with the squads, but also within the USL staff. And I want to take a moment here to personally thank Armour for coming back and so graciously offering up his free time to serve as the league administrator once again and get this community back on track as we grow and revive competition in this, our beloved infantry. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts for today. I've got Prisoner and King. Say hello, fellas.
Evening. Hello, happy to be here. Thanks, Rom.
Happy to have you guys on. Let's talk a little Season 2 before we begin. That whole season was SFO dominance. The beginning to end, SFO was the favorites, and they took the championship. Did you guys see it going any other way?
Not really. I mean, the only people I think could have really stepped up were going to be Warhawks, and at the end they kind of just fell flat. Yeah, I was a bit disappointed by the finals, to be honest with you. I think that if Warhawks had prepared a bit more and maybe if Trisons had showed, it could have been a bit more competitive. But I don't think there was a doubt that SFO was number one. And to be honest with you, even though the semis with Tank was close, I'm kind of glad that we didn't really lame them out of a win, and they got what they deserved because they really had the best lineup and the best players last season. So
I completely agree. Let me run down some of the stats from last season. In the semifinals of the playoffs, SFO defeated Tank 22-20, and the MVP was Legend in that game. I actually thought that game was one of the best of the entire season. I thought that Tank might have had the best chance to actually beat them there. They were just camping the entire time, but it was a good game. And I had the video of it. I think eventually I might drop that. And then the other semifinal game, Warhawks defeated Apocalypse 53-27. The MVP there was Zeeby. And then finally in the finals, Special Forces defeated Warhawks 70-32. The MVP there was Sav, aka the Great Khali. The award winners from Season 2 are as follows. The championship trophy was to Special Forces. The campaign banner was to Special Forces. The defense banner goes to Special Forces. The commander medal went to Legend. The star medal went to Champion. The medic shield went to Surgeon, aka Kippa. The soldier medals, this is the individual medal that goes to every member of the championship squad, went to Champion, Colossal, Devil, Dog, E, M41, Legend, Leon, Manu, Predator, Surgeon, the Great Khali, Dinobot, Iron, and TV. Congratulations to those guys. Now we are turning the page and moving on to Season 3. We've had a lot of movement in the league, as only 3 squads from last season survived the offseason. And the new blood looks pretty tough. I've been looking at the lineup a long time, guys, and I cannot find a favorite. What do you guys think?
It really is up in the air. There's potential all across the board, especially because we're going to EC. Every squad can play very well on EC, and if you've seen the SBs every single night, one team wins one night, and the other team wins the next night. There's no clear favorites yet. Definitely agree with you on the EC map there, Tyrael. I think that there's a clear top 3 maybe, but it remains to be seen which of those squads will separate themselves from the pack.
As Tyrael said, it's really up in the air right now. I've seen it go either way in SBs. I think it could go to some degree either way in squad matches, depending on who shows up on Sunday and lag issues. I mean, this is the season where flukes matter, and we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see a competitive season overall. But without further ado, let's break them down. Starting alphabetically with Angry Frogs. Let's first go to King. What's your analysis on Angry Frogs for this season?
I actually think that they're going to pull off a few upsets. Darth Execute is one of the most solid leaders in the game. Yeah, he can sometimes be an ass. That's not what's important right now. Quite a few really strong Marines. ER and Pandy, butt buddies forever. They go together no matter where. Both of those guys together, very, very deadly. Deviac, another 1v1 player who he a lot of the time can take on a 2v1 and come out on top. Chaos Blade, if he's going to be active, he was always a solid Marine. I'm actually looking forward to seeing Brilhart play again. I used to watch him in the Sony era, and I actually loved watching him. I thought he was a very solid Marine back in the day. For medics, if you're active and playing, I think you're a very solid medic, and by you I mean Romulocks. I also would really love to see Templar be a little active as well. He was always a very solid med too.
Prisoner?
I mean, I'm looking at my notes here, and like what you said at the very start here about Darth is 100%. I just have Darth here in bold and capitals. I think the difference between this squad and like Lifers at the start of last season when they were a little bit disappointing, last place, they got blown out the first few games, is that Darth was inactive. He was inactive in preseason and he didn't show up to the first 3 games, I believe. And he's the guy, like you said, he's such an experienced leader, and he's going to keep them in games. He's going to put them in spots, especially on EC, where they have a chance to win. And if you give him solid Marines, solid meds, I mean, none of those guys are really top tier, with the exception of maybe ER. But they have some guys like Chaos Blade and Pandy, Deviac, that are just solid Marines, and that'll definitely give them a chance to pull off a couple upsets. So, yeah, I mean, I like the way their roster looks so far.
I completely agree with everything you guys have said so far. I think a lot does rest on Darth Execute's shoulders. I mean, he realizes, I think, right now that the position we're in, as far as a skill drop, I think he also realizes that we are going to have to camp, and I don't think that's a pussy thing in the league, as much as people make fun of it to a degree. I mean, I think it is a legitimate strategy. I also think you can take it overboard. And for us, we are going to have to strike that perfect balance between an offensive and a defensive squad, leaning far more defensive. We just do not have the numbers. That's something I'm going to talk about here, is that you got guys like Extreme Raver, Pandy, Pliskin. First of all, those 3 names distinguish themselves from the rest because they are the exceptional players all and could play just about anywhere in the league. You've got Olacola there on the side as well, Darth and Deviac right behind him. I mean, that 6 core as a Marine lineup is really, really solid, I think. And if they came together and had some fusion, I mean, that's system error. And they've been together for a long time, and I think that they will continue to improve the more they play together again. And then you've got me and Victim, who, as you guys pointed out, I'm very rusty. I'm trying to shake it off. Victim is sort of the same way, but we have played together for 15 years, Victim and I. If we can meld well with the rest of the SC guys, as far as an offensive and defensive pushing, I think we have the ability to really, really upset some people. We're definitely gonna have to see as we go forward. All right, now let's look at some weaknesses that the squad has, because it's not all going to be good for Angry Frogs this season. King, first off, what do you see as some drawbacks for this squad?
Even though I'm pretty active at night, I haven't seen them SB as much as I think they should be.
I'll go ahead and tell you
if
we're
they
not.
are, I do see some. Right, and even when you are, every now and then it's not the best lineup possible.
No.
Some of these players are not practicing in pub even when they have the opportunity. So I think activity is going to be a huge downside as well.
Prisoner?
I mean, definitely a lack of depth. I think a lot of it's going to rest on that 5th and 6th Marine. I'm not sold on Olacola, Rom. I know you love the guy. I think that I don't know. He seems a little bit faded to me. We'll see how that goes. And then Brillheart and Plisk and even Chaos Blade, I haven't seen those guys around enough. And when it comes to finding a solid 5th and 6th starter, I'm just looking down the list. There's a pretty big drop off, let's say, after the top 6. So that's one thing. The other thing, I'm sorry to say this, Rom, but medics. I'm a little bit skeptical about the medding situation in Angry Frogs right now. I know that you and Victim have been around forever, and Victim used to be a really solid med, but that was 10 years ago. Let's be honest. You guys really have to step it up. I see meds taking a lot of weak opening deaths to grenades and laws. Positioning could be a bit better, with meds. So I think that the meds really need to show up in practice, and like Tyrell said, just SB more, get those meds more practice, get them unfaded.
I agree with your point about the bench is weak. You're right. After the 6th, it's a plummet to the bottom. There's really, and also that 6th guy is almost rotational depending on who's active that night, and it doesn't provide you with a consistent lineup, which is just headaches for the medics to try to figure out who they're actually dealing with this time. Uni is actually pretty consistent 6th. And while he does have some serious drawbacks in skill, he doesn't screw us ever. And as far as medics, you're right. It's a concern. But I will say that the Marines go a long way to how the success of the medics. I mean, I had a pretty damn good SB, I thought, yesterday with Cobra Kai. And it was pretty much, it was a lot of their starters, and it just made me realize, like, when the core unit of the squad knows how to play together and the medic can just stick with them, it's kind of just follow the leader to a certain respect. And I think Victim and I can play off some good Marines, namely ER, Pandy, and if Plisk will get active, yeah, you're right. We need Plisk. I think Deviac is actually up there in that echelon. I think he's severely underrated in the league. People like to think he's really faded, but you don't remember at one time he was really good. I mean, top 10 Marine player. And also Ola Kola, yeah, he's definitely got some faded. He makes some bad moves still, and the point that Mecca made to me was that against better squads he'll play worse, but against worse squads he'll play better. He's just that kind of, he's right on that cusp. And that's just the kind of player he is. And I agree with that statement. But at the same time, I don't think he's going to let us down. I'm hoping to see him have a good season. He needs to have a good season. We need him to have a good season. And yeah, Angry Frogs really is going to come down to Darth's leadership, our consistency, and our activity. What you two guys have both pinpointed. So we're just going to have to see as the season continues. And with that, I'm going to ask us to grade the squad based on what we think they're going to do in the season. So it's going to be a rating scale A through F, and just kind of see how you think that they're going to develop over the course of the season. Where do you see them come by I would say even by playoffs time? Where do you see them finishing? We'll start with King.
I'd grade them about a C minus right now. But if the activity increases, I think some upsets can definitely happen. I would love to see them in that B plus range by playoffs.
Where would you lean more towards C or C minus? Where are you at?
I would say C minus right now.
Okay. Prisoner?
Yeah, I have them at a C, like a C with potential, I guess you could say. The thing is, it could really go either way towards the end of the season. If they really care and they get active, and all those guys that are inactive start showing up and they start SBing and shake off a bit of the rust, then I can absolutely see them up in like the B range with a squad like Tank or Worms or something like that, competing with that for that number 4 playoff spot. But at the same time, if they go inactive, if Darth leaves the game like he did before, then I could kind of see them going the way of lifers and being the basement squad. So like a C for now.
Okay. I agree with your sentiments. I think activity is the issue. I do think we have a little more promise in terms of I think we just have natural talent in the squad, and natural talent can sometimes just like Raver can just walk on the field and play good. He doesn't need to have that much practice beforehand. The unit does need to come together for us to succeed. I gave him a C plus, and that's primarily on potential. I don't think we're a C plus right now. That's a C minus for King, a C for Prisoner, and Romulocks with a C plus. That is a C average for Angry Frogs. So next up, we're going to do Cobra Kai. King, if you want to go ahead and break down what you see Cobra Kai doing this season.
It is Special Forces V2 with some friends. The biggest thing is Champion just hopped over to him. So that definitely helps them. I think it's kind of a dick move because all he's talked about all season was playing with friends, and he joined Instant Vintage, leaves them to go play with them. So really, where are your friends? Were they IV or here? So, that is going to help them, definitely. They have a great lineup. I don't know if Armor's going to be active or not, but he's been playing a lot. Even without him, you also have Soul. If he's going to be active, that's key right there. But it really is Special Forces from last season, minus Devil, minus Chaos. Add Kale, add Below, add Y. I think they're going to do tremendous things. Number 1, number 2 squad for the season.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there, Tyrael. Champion is definitely huge. It's also a bit of addition by subtraction there, because you're taking away a top 5 Marine in the game from IV and then adding him to Cobra Kai. So that could be like their main competition right there, getting a lot weaker. Um, these guys have really big egos. I think one of the keys for them is going to be staying positive. A lot of these players haven't like lost a game in a while they've been playing Infantry. Like SFO just rolled over squads last season. There wasn't any really strong competition for them. And it's going to be interesting to see if they run into any adversity, if they get upset, once. How are the big egos on the squad going to take it? Like what's going to happen with Kippa, Iso, Colossal, those guys that are so used to winning and like pretty vocal about being the best. So I think that's one key, is just like staying positive, recognizing that they have some newer players. Like Y is really good, but he's kind of unproven. Like he stepped up a bit for Tank last season, but at the same time, I mean, he hasn't really won anything yet. Same goes with Kale. Like he's been around for a while, but he's never won a championship. So these guys have to go into the mindset like they're not SFO. They have to accept the fact that I can see them losing a game or two. That doesn't mean that they're not, championship contenders, but it's certainly possible.
I agree. They're going to have to scrap and scrape if they want to be in the top. It's not going to be it's going to be tough getting past Warhawks, getting past Instant Vintage. I think even getting past Tank, I think it's going to be tough, especially doing that week to week, back to back. I do. I like Champion. I like Colossal on the same team. I think those guys play very well together and off of each other. I don't understand the background of why he swapped, but I imagine it was because he wanted to play on a winning squad. That's a motivation for a lot of guys, and certainly motivation for me. So, I don't know why Soul is on the starting lineup. Some of the lineup is a question for me. I don't know why Soul is on the starting lineup because I don't think he's active at all, and I don't think he's going to show up for at least half of your games, most likely. At least that's what I've seen. So, and then I wonder, why is Rob Zombie, Dinobot, and Big Fat Noob on the bench? Because I see potential in definitely two of those players. Rob Zombie's totally faded, but I mean he's a good player, and he's going to be there. So why not over Soul? There's some questions I have on why they have players on the bench. And what those bench players are going to do, because I really don't see. I don't know. I just don't see them at the end of the season not getting played.
BFN and Dinobot are from Phoenix Down, which was Sov's CTF squad, so it's kind of like favor for friends. And even though Dino's like really active, he's getting better. BFN, he has tremendous lag issues, so even if they put him on active,
definitely, I agree with those lag issues. I've seen it, but Dino I think has strong upsides. He's going to be a solid Marine, and if he's going to do that, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to see league games. I think I wonder how much Armor plays, because I think Armor's pretty solid still. I would probably, honestly, he makes my starting lineup for sure for this squad right now. And my question, well, I'll get to that here in a second. Let's go ahead and start with their weaknesses. King, what do you see as their weaknesses?
Kind of what Prisoner said, ego. I won't name names, but there's a few on there that if they die, if they have a bad game, they are blaming everyone but themselves. It was laggy. My keyboard batteries died. My sandwich is cold. I don't like my haircut. My monitor's too small. I mean, there's every excuse possible that I hear from some of these guys, and they'll just quit mid-game and just say, this sucks, and they leave. So if they get one loss, there's a good potential that people are just going to say, I retire, I'm not going to play anymore. So besides that, there really is no weakness, just, ego and pride.
Agreed or not?
Definitely. Ego, for sure. I mean, it doesn't take much. You read the USL forums for half an hour, and then you can kind of see where Kippa stands on how good he is. So, I don't know. Just going back to the BFN thing real quick, what you said, Rom, that's a really good point. They have some of their most active players like BFN and Dino on the bench. And then you have guys like T, Soul, even Kippa, like he's in a different time zone. They're really not as being that much during the week on their starting rotation. So that's another question mark to me, like how much time the starters are going to get together. I mean, some of those guys are really good. They don't need to practice that much, but it's not going to be SFO. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Another thing I see is Sov. Like Sov's not a weakness, first of all. He's the best player in the game. in my opinion. But he needs to Marine. He 100% needs to Marine for them this season. It's not like SFO where they have 8 Marines that could start on any squad. They really need him and Champ to be like the premier Marines, with Colossal like just a little step behind them. If he meds, it really lowers their firepower. And against a squad like Warhawks or IV, I think that they get outgunned at that point with Sov medding. So definitely.
So who do you play as medic in that case then? Who's your second med with Kippa?
See, that's a good point. That's definitely one of their weaknesses. The thing is, too, who's their leader? Is Kippa leading? And then if so, can he lead his med? That even puts another wrinkle into it. And I think that they need to put BFN on the starting list. He's a really good med. Dino, yeah. The thing is, BFN was really good in CTF. He was an OM, like he started for those squads. Dino played heavy, which doesn't translate as well to skirmish. It's more of like a Ripper type class, which, I mean, as much as Tyrael would disagree, I don't think it's relevant in the current USL meta, I guess you could say. So BFN is really good. He's actually someone I wanted to recruit for IV. Then he joined Cobra Kai. I would steal him in an instant. So BFN, if you're listening to this, if you want a new squad, things aren't working out. I think that he's going to be really good. He's going to be one of the top players next season.
That's my biggest issue is that you got 15 guys here, of which 12, maybe 13 do want playing time. How do you work that out? You can have 10 minutes. I'm not. That's some bullshit. So I see they've got to lose a couple players, or unless they're just going to say, okay, I'll sit the bench all season long just to get a ring, which I find silly. So I think they have to lose some players, and I don't know who they start at medic. That's why I say Sov, in my mind, has to play medic, because I just don't see a second. I don't see a viable second unless Iron. I don't know Iron very well, and I've been told that he might be your second.
Well, Iron is Sov's brother, and I don't see him being the second medic unless it's against your lower tiers. It's probably gonna be below, because he's one of the better combat medics. He just needs to listen. And then Kale actually has been leading and playing medic as well, so he's trying to be a combat med too. So there's your transition right there. There's your little letter guys.
Definitely, below in Kale for sure. Iron's another guy with a lot of potential, like Sov's brother. He was really good in CTF as well. I honestly think that these CTF guys, it's a lot easier to pick up skirmish coming from CTF than the other way around.
Oh yeah, no question.
Like their aim and dodge is on point for sure. Like these are guys that won multiple championships in CTF PL towards the end, and they're the best players in the league. So obviously we know how good Sov is, and it didn't take him a long time to pick it up. I think Iron is potentially one of those guys as well. If he SBs for a few weeks, I wouldn't be surprised to see him top 5 man in the league. So him, and then either Kale or Q kind of filling in that second med role. Although I can see Q being their 6th best Marine as well, to be honest.
It depends on how he plays.
If he listens.
Yeah, it depends on what below you get. But yeah, I agree with that. So having that said, what would you rank them, King?
A minus. I'll say A minus.
A minus. Prisoner?
A for sure with Champion.
All right.
Definitely.
I also gave them an A, which we overrule you, King. We're gonna take an A for the average there.
There's always room for improvement.
Next up, we're gonna look at Instant Vintage. Again, King, if you want to start breaking them down.
My second favorite squad in the league, with a lot of my best friends. These guys, they're going to do very well. Top 3. One of the strong suits they have there is that they just picked up Devil and Legend. I really hope to see Legend lead. I think he's the best combat leader in the game. He can just bark orders and still play and go 20-2 while doing so. And not a lot of people can do that. Usually your leaders are your weak spots, going 1 for 1 if possible. Medic battery, if Manu and Navy, I'd love to see them men be active, Navy especially. That would be killer. And then one of my favorite players of all time, M4A1. I mean, this guy's a renegade. If you put him on flank, he is just going to go balls to wall and take out an entire group. He's great. Always was amazing in Skirmish League. Translates well here. I'd love to see Pant play. Pant's a very old, very good friend of mine. Came over from CTF. He's a utility player, so I think he'd be better suited as a medic. but he can also play pretty solid as Marine, support Marine. Ninja, I've heard that he isn't going to be as active this season, so that can definitely hamper them. Trisen's the same thing. Tri is a unique guy, even all the way back to Skirmish League. He shows when he's going to win, and when he feels he won't, he doesn't show. So that way, I don't know if he's ratio whore in terms of win-loss. Tremendous Marine, one of the smartest Marines in the game, but he just will not show 100% of the time. Prisoner and Yosh, two tank buddies. Prisoner, of course, one of the greatest players as Marine. Then you have Yosh. And then there's Z, who was recruited solely on his lag, and that is a fact. He's a good player, but he was recruited so no one else can abuse the lag. All in all, these guys are going to do wonderful things. I just hope that the chemistry is there, because they'll win sometimes, they'll lose sometimes, and it's like a 50-50 that I see, and they need to be winning 75-80% of those SPs to really be a true contender.
Prisoner, rate your own squad.
Yeah, I'm biased here, obviously. I didn't make many notes for IV. I don't want to pull a Kippa and, show off my ego to everybody. But I got to say, Champion leaving hurts us a lot, because I think he's top 3 Marine in the league, and he went to IV, one of our main competitors. The flip side of that is that I feel like with Champ, the squad was a bit complacent. On paper, you look at the lineup, you have Champ, Devil, Chaos, Legend, those guys, and you think, oh, they're going to win. Because you add Ninja, the best player from Warhawks, and then a couple other good players me, Yosh, Shasta, Trizence, M4, and 2 solid meds, and I think we're the favorite there. Now, without Champion, it's a bit of a different story, but it kind of motivates everyone else, to actually start paying attention a bit more in SBs and just not getting complacent with our play, which I think we were doing a little bit before. Yosh is hungry. This guy, I feel like he's been underrated by pretty much every single player rating list that I've read. He's gotten a lot better from what I've seen last season on Tank, and IDC Season 1, when they won the entire thing. He was one of our best Marines on Tank for sure, and he just hasn't gotten that credit yet for whatever reason. So I expect big things from him this season. I will say one thing. Chemistry is really important. We have some guys from different backgrounds who are all really good players. We have, for example, M4, Legend, and Devil from SFO, who used to rolling squads. And then me and Yosh kind of played on Tank last season, mid-tier squad. And Ninja's on Warhawks, and he really had to carry Warhawks. They fell off the map a lot towards the end. They really relied on him to do a lot of crazy solo stuff, and they really needed him to put up 20+ kills to have a good game. And it's not quite the same setup here. Everybody's got to kind of gel together and realize that they don't need to play the exact same roles they did last season. And if we can get that chemistry together, then I think that we could win it all. So
I think your analysis is dead on, pretty unbiased. I do think Yosh has been consistently underrated, which is why I thought gave him closer to his due. I think you have a lot of great players and a lot of smart minds and a lot of leadership. It's an incredible amount of leadership. I mean, you got guys Ninja's going to be vocal. You got Yosh, you got Prisoner yourself, and also Legend at the same time. I mean, you got 4 guys there that could step in and lead the squad, no problem. And that's incredible, especially when you have all those guys in the starting lineup all communicating about the same points. And you've also got, the question is, can you get all to the same mind and go with one purpose? I think you've got, I love your lineup. Imagine is still, you're right. Some of these people don't have to do the 20-2 like you expected them from SFO or from, I think Imagine doesn't have to do as much here, and neither does Legend. But at the same time, you need them to be good Marines consistently. If you get consistency from all these players, it's sky's the limit, man. M4-1, like you were saying, crushing on flanks. You never know when the guy's going to put down 3 or 4. Trizence, if he shows up, like I said, I think he was at one point the best Marine in the game. He's not there right now, clearly, but can he be there again? I don't know. Can he play well? Definitely. Can he? I mean, the same thing goes for the rest of your lineup. I mean, Savage. Gosh, you got some great players. I really like the lineup. Havoc. And then your med lineup. I actually wish you would play Havoc as med because I think he's just so solid at it. And Manu too. I would play Havoc and Manu myself. But it looks like, I mean, if you play Navy, I don't think you're losing that much. I do think your medics is kind of where you drop off a little bit, but by and large, it's just a solid lineup. King, do you see glaring weaknesses? Anything jump out at you?
The chemistry is the big thing. Like Prisoner said, a lot of different backgrounds. They kind of want to go do their own thing. I don't think you losing Champion is as big a loss as you think. Normally, when I see him play, yes, he's a very good Marine, but I think he's more about the reputation and the stats more than anything else. Very passive when he needs to be, or when he doesn't need to be. And to me, whenever I see him play, and I guess I could be wrong, but it's usually playing for the score. And if for some reason he isn't doing well, it's all a joke, and he wasn't playing serious. So I honestly think that it's not going to be it's that huge of a loss. I think it's going to be much better for you in the long run to build chemistry, so you're not focusing around him. So I mean, you got M4, you got Legend. Shasta's a great Marine too. Great strafe on him. Devil, Prisoner, and then Yosh or Ninja or Tristan. So you've got 8 solid Marines right there that you can pick from. I think you're okay.
Prisoner, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, yeah, definitely. A couple of things jump out at me. Like you were saying, Rom, med consistency, I guess. I mean, I think we have some great meds. If they're active, I think that Navy and Manu are 2 of the best meds in the league for sure. I mean, obviously Manu is active. I put him up there, contending for that number 1 med spot. Navy is really good when he plays. Like, the question is he going to be around? Is he going to be faded? We really need him to be practicing during the week against tough squads. After that, it kind of drops off for us a bit at med. Just being honest with you, I mean, Havoc is really good as a med. I like him more as med than Marine. The problem is that during SBs, he doesn't play med a lot. Like, he's shifting between the 2 classes. So I think probably
you never really get your foot underneath you. You're always kind of, you're neither a Marine nor a medic. You're somewhere in between. I mean, I feel like you got to pick one at some point, right?
Exactly, man. You have to develop chemistry, like with your flank team or like wherever you're going to be playing, flank or main, and then get used to like how certain Marines like to play, like pushing or falling, like being aggressive, how you're going to med them, stuff like that. So I think that him being a full-time med would be a good thing. Stab has had a bit of a rough start for us. He's had some lag issues, some frame issues, some rustiness, and he's a 3rd med there with Navy being really inactive. So he's really got to step it up. I'm calling you out, Stab. We need you this season. So I'd say those are weaknesses. And then just going back to the chemistry thing as well, I mean, we have some guys like Ninja, Devil, and Z are all tremendous players. Devil and Ninja, easily top 5 in the league. One of those guys you can make an argument for number 1 even, but when they're both in at the same time, there's really only room for like one creative solo flanking player, in my opinion. The rest of the guys got to stick with the team. So we have to work out kind of which one of those guys is going to play that role, and then also just like respect the new leadership. I mean, it might not be Chaos leading again, like SFO, best leader in the game, no doubt, but we still have to be on the same page. So.
You know your weaknesses, your strong points. It's just what happens, what develops. Can you get better? Can you find some consistent medics? And can you guys come together and be kind of one of purpose and one of mind when you go into these squad battles and when you go into the league? And we'll see if that happens. King, what did you rate them?
B minus.
B minus, a little low.
Whoa.
Yeah, man, that's a.
This is based solely
B
on
minus.
From the SBs I've seen, you've won the same amount that you've lost. You get a B minus. Also, you guys love playing.
How have we been doing versus Tank?
Me, so you guys are dicks.
What's our win-loss ratio against Tank?
The difference is though with Tank, we've had so much inactivity. Albert's been gone for a while. We'll get to Tank later. Let's talk about
excuses. All right, Prisoner. We got it. B minus. Prisoner, what do you say, man?
B minus. I think you said. I mean, I gave us an A minus. Just slightly below Cobra Kai, in my opinion, with Champ swapping over. I think if he comes back, then we're an A. They're an A minus.
I am going to that B minus really drops us a bit because I'm also going to give them an A minus. I think you guys have. I don't think you're the top of the league. I just don't. I think there are two squads that I think would rival you for it. But I think it depends on the day. I really think it depends on the lineup you've got in. It depends on. It's not game time yet. You know what I mean? So come mid-season, I'll readjust and see where your medic core is, and then if you guys get some consistency in the backfield, in the backcourt, as they say, you could slaughter. You could be better, but we'll just have to see what happens. So overall, that's a B plus rating for Instant Vintage. All right, our next squad to review is going to be Legends. King.
I really am pulling for these guys. I really give credit to Chica for coming together and getting a squad. She definitely can play on some of the higher tier squad. So she should get an award for helping keep the league active. Quite a few actually good pub players on there who just never had the opportunity to play USL. Lyric is a great. They need to let him lead and just listen to him and not interject or do their own thing. Picked up Predator from SFO, who was very active last season, but if he is, he'd be great. My guy to watch is going to be Cage. He's also known as C4G3 in pub. This guy's played for a very long time, amazing in pub, is excited at the opportunity to come play in the league. And I think he's going to do some wonderful things, but they have some great players. I really hope that Lunatic will be active. He's been playing in SBs recently, doing really good, and these guys actually took Cobra Kai to the wire the other day. Granted, it may have been CK's B lineup, but still, that's showing something that these guys took them within like 6 kills. So I really hope these guys are active, and I really hope that they can pull an upset or two.
Yeah, I agree. Like Chica deserves all the props for putting this squad together last minute, and they're actually a lot better than I expected. They picked up a few guys last minute. Predator, Harry Nuts, another old vet who's quite good. Uzo is actually a really big player for them, in my opinion. He brings a lot of passion to the squad. I think it's important for these guys to keep morale up.
You call it passion.
It's
I
not
like
going to be
that.
an easy season.
I like that.
Passion, man. Listen, if there's anything Uzo is, he's vocal and he's passionate on vets.
That's exactly
he
how
speaks
it
up
is.
for what he believes in.
Passion.
Well, no, okay, here's my thing, though. It's easy, like, when you're falling behind by 30, 40 points in USL, halfway through the game, 30, 40 kills, I should say, sorry, it's hard to come back. Like, there's no chance of coming back. That's the difference between USL and SL, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
In Skirmish League, there's always flags. There's always, like, you can pull off some crazy strat, flag at 4v8. That's why I loved SL.
Me too.
In USL, a lot of games are decided in the first 10 minutes. So you need someone like Uzo that's rallying the troops. I've never seen Uzo be really negative. He's a positive guy, and I think that's going to help a lot, with just the general squad mood and stuff on Vent. When they're getting blown out by Cobra Kai or Warhawks, Instant Vintage, whatever, they got to keep morale up and compete the following week.
Be positive.
Yeah, you said earlier that Lyric was going to lead. You said earlier Lyric was going to lead. I think it'd be better if Uzo led, to be quite honest. I think he's the better leader in the squad. I think he's more likely to put them in positions where they may actually win, and he's going to recognize the
Uzo
play.
is a killer.
He is a killer.
Uzo's a killer, and Lyric is not.
You're right. Maybe that's the least damage Lyric can do to the squad is by leading, which is kind of a funny way to look at it. But I agree with your assessment that Cage is going to be a player to watch. I think in SBs he is by far the most surprising, his skill level. I think VC is a huge player for them. You've got to have one really good medic, I think, to pull off some major upsets. And I think VC is going to be that for them if he shows up. I think Chica will do a good job otherwise. She's going to be a great second med to VC, though. And otherwise, I think they're missing some or some marine pieces. I don't think they have the strong lineup. But you're right. If Predator shows up, man, he really kicks their game up to another level if he's there. There's a few threatening players. We'll see what they do in the league. At the beginning of the season, I thought that maybe, or the beginning, a couple weeks ago, I thought that maybe the Statutory Apes versus Legends game was going to be a joke. And I was going to watch it for that reason. Now I think it's going to be a tight match, and I want to watch it for that reason. So I'm really actually looking forward to that match. So I think these guys, it's really up to them how active they are, how much they play in pub, how much they SB together, because teamwork is a big deal in USL, and you can overcome a lot of skill deficiency with just some great teamwork. So based on that, Tyrael, what do you think is just one, if you don't mind, what is the big weakness you see?
It's not the activity; it's consistency. They need the same lineup in, no NT. They've got their players. They don't really need to be recruiting more. So keep a consistent lineup.
Priz?
Leading. Lyric's a good leader. He's okay. Like, he's got to take notes from someone like Darth or Apollo, to be honest. He has to put them in positions where they can win. Like, you know that they're going to be outgunned in a lot of games. It's just how it is. Like, they have some newer players. They need to have the enemy come to them. If they keep pushing, if Lyric gets really aggressive, you're going to see like 100 kills dropped on them against top squads. So
that's exactly what I would say. I would say leadership is probably my biggest and also your most active players are your least skilled. You've got the guys that are going to make it every week are not the guys that I'd want to make it every week. And also your inconsistency. You were so right, King. You never know what they're going to do, and it could be a runaway train, like Prisoner was saying. And on a bad night, combine a bad night with a good night for the other team, you could you could break the 150 barrier depending on how they're playing. So King, what'd you rate him?
D-.
D-.
ooh,
Yeah, rough. Prisoner?
King is a harsh critic. I mean, I give him a D, a little bit better. I put a star next to that. It could improve throughout the season.
I gave him a D as well. I mean, I think the C in this squad is a little more average than it is in other years. I think typically there's been a lot of Bs. There's a definitive line here in this league between the top and the bottom squads. There just is, and I think Legends is firmly in the bottom. But it's a long season. Well, it's actually a short season, but it's a long season, and they could come together over that time, but right now I give them a D, and that puts us at a D average. Next up is going to be Statutory Apes, which we didn't really know what this squad. They just changed their name. They were nothing special. I think Statutory Apes is a interesting choice for a new name.
They get an A+ for name.
Yeah, A+ for creativity. I like laughing, and when I'm reading Statutory Apes, I'm laughing. King, what do you see?
This will be very quick. M, same thing as Chica, deserves a medal for doing this. It is literally just people that want to play. I've seen one SB from them. These guys are literally like, Exo is a sapper in pub. He probably wants a sapper here. You're already on my shit list if you have punctuation or numbers in your name. I just automatically don't care for you. I don't know why. I'm sorry. So there's already two people on the squad that I just don't like. And I hope the best for them, and I hope that they're active. These guys are our filler squad. I really hope that Cannibal or M can maybe get a few extra people on there before the season starts that will be a little more active. But truly, this is just to get that ace squad in.
Priz?
I mean, I'm reading the analyst commentary right now on their squad page, and it just says, "Please be active, King." And I hate to say it, like, M definitely for making a squad, making it even 8. It's great. We don't have to do a bye. We don't have to do 2 games per week. It's really good for the league in that sense. He needs 3 more veteran players. Like, that's what it comes down to. He needs an Uzo, a Predator, Harry Nuts, like those kind of guys that have been around forever and can help kind of share some of the leadership burden. If they start going Sapper, Sapper, Nader, Ripper during games, like, it's just going to be a joke. They're going to get blown up by 100 kills. And I think that it could be a good match, like them against Legends. But the thing is, I see Legends SBing almost every night. SA, like Tyrael just said, I've only seen one SB out of them, and it wasn't pretty. They're going to have their work cut out for them. I think Versace is actually a decent player. I don't know who that is, but I've seen him do okay in SBs, and I have no discrimination against numbers or symbols, just throwing that out there. So I wish these guys the best. I mean, I hope that they stick around and improve.
I actually played in an SB with them the other day. I'm just trying to get this squad together. This trying to at the time, I wasn't sure. They were kind of floundering, wasn't sure they were actually going to survive. And so I got in touch with a few of the members and kind of just was like, prodding them along, kind of, what's the situation here? And I played medic with them. I got BB involved to help me lead their team. And we played with, there were a few of these guys there, Versace. I played with Ghost a few times, but Babel was in the game. EXO was there. And I got to play with a few of them, and they've actually got some talent. Like, Versace is a legitimate Marine. He's really not bad. He's every bit the Cobra Raider or Trax. I think he's better than both of those players, to be honest. I mean, and that's not terrible. I mean, you're starting off with a pretty good place right there. I've played with Ranger Smith now he's been around since SOE early days. Here's the thing, and I was just going to get to that with Ranger Smith. He's a prime example. I don't know a single medic for sure, a single Marine for sure, a single Grenader for sure. I don't know anything. Like, I really have no idea. Babel, to me, is a little better than the rest of the squad. People have mentioned Cannibal is as well, but I haven't played with him enough to really see. I think he's a very decent medic. So maybe he's a solid med for them, consistent. I don't know. Therion is okay in pubs. They've got some pieces. They've got some players. They're not as consistent. I don't think they're as consistent SBing, and I don't think they're as consistent practicing and playing with each other. They do not have a leader, except for maybe Mike C. And I'm not going to say that they have a leader. So, I'm not really sure. We're just going to have to wait and see. I don't really have very much of a prediction for them because I just haven't seen a lot out of them. But they have some players, and I wish them all the luck in the season for sure. King, what would you rate them?
Honestly, I don't even think it's fair to rate them because it is really just filler. I'd rather not even give them a letter. It's 0.
Okay,
give him a letter, man.
This guy's abstaining over here.
D-.
I didn't know abstaining was a choice, but he's abstaining.
I mean, it always is a choice. And let me have 30 more seconds to explain something real quick. I actually had attempted to contact free agents. I thought if they would want to join the squad like this, they at least get to play versus not. You have some people who'd rather bench and not play for a better squad. And part of this here is we want the league to be more active, more involved. Because what happens then is if we get the league going, we get pub back where people are on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at 11 a.m., where we can get tons of players back. It starts here because we were the mainstay. You played all week during seasons playing pub just to come and watch these games on Sunday. I mean, it was an esports event. You'd have hundreds in the arenas for championship, and it's a little sad that some people don't want to come and help the squad. Now, granted, any of us could do the same thing, but we're unfortunately established in our squad. So you have free agents who would rather not help and just rather sit it out or bench for people, and that kind of frustrates me. Where these guys could definitely use that help, and no one wants to step up. So kudos to the people who are actually trying to play, and I know they're trying to be a filler squad, but all it takes is one missed week where these guys drop off and we're back to a bye week.
I agree with everything you just said there, Tyrael. I don't know. I give them a D-. I'll give them a letter. I feel bad about it. I hope that none of these guys are offended by my D-. If they are, they should try to prove me wrong. That'd be good for the league. I haven't really seen anything from them. I think they need like 3 or 4 vets to join and kind of guide these players. I don't think Mike C is the answer. I'm sorry to say. I don't know who Holocaust is. I see him posting in the forums a bit. I don't know who he is.
I believe.
It's an alias. It's
yeah. They get an F-. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not even gonna comment there. I was hoping he'd be some vet, but I guess Kumo's a vet. But I don't know leadership role.
You never thought you might see the day where Kumo is the best player on your squad, hands down. But I think he very
I think he just said vet.
I never thought I'd say that, but I'm saying it. Tyrael, I also want to echo your sentiments from a little earlier. I think those pussies seriously need a squad join to stop being total bitches. And I would also give them a D-, which I know is harsh. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you. It's mostly because we haven't seen any of you play, and the expectations are low. But if you were to get a couple players who would help you out, who aren't playing currently, who could be in the starting lineup tomorrow, that would be great. So our average there is going to be a D+. No, I'm sorry, a D- overall. Tank is next. We've got a lot of movement in tank, particularly. There was basically tank turned into 2 squads in the offseason, and we get to hear both of those perspectives, interestingly enough. So, King, let's hear your perspective first. What's going on with you still active in tank? And then we'll hear the prisoner rebuttal. I'm excited.
Yeah, we really just took out the trash when it came to tank. Got some new players in. The key is going to be the co-captains. There's some really sexy co-captains at tank. Our biggest problem as of late is activity. Albert's been on a job. Dave has bedtime at 10 o'clock. Extreme's been busy. Ike's been busy. Keita's been busy. I've been busy, so my wife doesn't hate me. Unborn's been doing unborn stuff. I think it's finals or something. So we have not had a consistent lineup. We've had Palm leading. We've had NT. Our first week, I would say, once we were all solid, we were doing great in SBs. We were killing people every night. And then we haven't had the same lineup since, solely because of real life. I think we're the most, I think we're the squad with the most real life, if I had to say. One big change is actually myself. When I played for Tank last season, I LMG'd a lot because I was told to, because Albert didn't know how to lead it for Ripper. Even though Ripper was really solid on KR, it's fine. Just needs to learn. And in my opinion, LMG is one of the weakest classes. Yeah, it has a strong weapon, but it sucks. The last few weeks of the season, I actually switched to Marine and SBs. I Marined against SFO in the semis. I've been Marining for this off season, and I've been doing very well, if I do say so myself. But I also have the opportunity to rip again, and I think you'll see me ripping a few games. I hope we have a leader who knows how to use a ripper, especially on EC. So
this map definitely works for
it.
I think Prisoner and I would both agree. It's a map for Ripper.
Prisoner won't agree. He'll never agree.
No, really? Okay, you'll have to tell me more about why not.
The only time he'll approve a Ripper is in Skirmish League, and if it's me, on Surgical, because we won championships. So, Marine-wise, I mean, Albert's been picking up great as Marine. We just picked up District, and he's very aggressive, but he'll go 1-1. He usually does not have a negative ratio, which means even if you go 1-1, if everybody on your team goes 1-1, the worst it's going to be is a tie. So I'll take that. And he's very vocal. He's willing to learn. We've got Dave, who's tremendous. Extreme is tremendous. Ice has been picking it up, being very vocal, leading on the side. Killer, of course, that is one of the biggest examples of hot or cold. When he's hot, man, he is as hot as the sun. When he's cold, well, he's still pretty hot. We've got Palm, who's been stepping up leading. His play has definitely increased. Unborn just needs to be active. And we actually picked up a new ringer here in Sniff. Great Marine medic who's willing to learn, very active. I think he's doing great things. And then we have our returning medic of Jane. Not the greatest on Comet, but she's been doing wonderful things as of late. She's actually been going very positive, so she's doing really well. Noir, he's a late bloomer as well, and I mean that by he has to play late. And then we have Ketis, who's usually only on when Dave is too. So we just need to be a little more active and consistent. Even right now, Albert's blowing up my phone's like SB in his fat voice, but we just need to play as one cohesive unit.
Prisoner?
Ripper's terrible. I mean, I can say a lot about tank. I'm going to start with Ripper is really, really bad. Ripper is bad. Ripper is bad.
We'll just ban him now from the...
I think if I say it a few more times, I mean, I don't think it's going to get through to Tyrael because we've had this discussion a lot last season, debating the pros and cons, mostly cons of Ripper when it comes down to it. The problem with Ripper in USL is that it's really a solo class. The way it's set up right now, yes, it's a little bit better in EC because there's more opportunity to be solo. There's more barrels, there's more like nooks and crannies in the rocks where you can have a single guy jump out behind a team and put in a stream of red bullets that can change the tide of a battle. Now that being said, it's still, Ripper is not versatile enough. Like in certain battles, you'll pretty much be playing down one player, and it's even worse for tank because you have their best Marine. Tyrael is the best Marine on tank wanting to play Ripper. which is a support class. Now, if you had someone like Palm, for example, okay, going Ripper, it wouldn't make that much of a difference because he's more of a support Marine anyway. But when you have that guy who's got to be at the front of the battle, like got to be drawing fire, getting that opening law kill, like he has to be more mobile, kind of in the back or hiding while his teammates die, it's just not a good look for tank at all. And like, what do you have to say about that, Terry? I'm really curious.
You think I'm the best Marine on tank? I love you.
I think you're up there.
Yeah.
And I do.
Well,
I don't think that. I'm not saying this is not insulting. I don't think that's a good thing. I think I think you would be a great third or fourth, but you should not be one or two.
Well, I take that. The good thing is, though, you guys really haven't. Well, Prisoner has seen me when I did step up. I actually NT'd a lot for Warhawks at the beginning. I was beating Ninja in League, so I can play Marine when I want to. I was kind of forced into LMG. I agree that I'm very useful as a Marine. I still think that I'm great as a Ripper. I have been playing Ripper and SPs. I have been doing really well. Ripper in here is not for kills. We are not there to get a kill. We are there to lay down suppression, to get those red bullets firing. And I mean, even if you have like a group of three, we had an example. It was a 2 versus 5, and the two of us actually killed all 5 by 2 good grenades placed and then a good spray of red. So yes, it can be effective. You have to lead it well. It can't be on the main all the time. It's got to be a good distinction between main and flank. And the problem with it is you don't have trees. Number one. Number two, you don't have leaders who practice. But what week do we play each other? Like week 5. So week 5 we'll definitely we'll talk again, Philip.
That's when I'll pad my kill death ratio, I think, if you're a Ripper. I mean, I know we're not doing grades yet, but I would put tank in the B range with no Ripper and like D+ with the Ripper. Now, that being said, I have a few more things about tank that I want to touch on. Albert's an amazing leader. They need him to be active. Not necessarily an in-game leader even. I mean, he's good in-game, but like he's a great manager of people. He led like the top CTF squad for a number of seasons when they dethroned BDS, which was Newfie, and he's a guy that played every class well in CTF. Really good player. I would say to Albert, maybe just lay off the pot a little bit before games. Maybe just one less joint might improve his leading a little bit in game. But other than that, I think he's quite underrated and a really good aggressive Marine. Good
I'll tell you, it does amazing things for my commentary.
Commentary, yes. But there's a thing in tank, you know, I could kind of tell, like Albert has 1 or 2 joints, we're good to go, you know what I mean? He loosens up a bit, he's chill on vent, everything's going good. Albert has 5 joints before the game, man, like it takes
he's
us
wandering
about
around
50
on
seconds,
KR,
a minute to pick up ammo. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is what it is. He's a really good guy, though.
Tank is a solid squad. They didn't lose a lot. You lost some good Marines. You did. Prisoner and Yosh are really hard to replace. But I mean, you did a decent job of packing the hole. I mean, you got no pun intended. You've got Fausto was a huge pickup, man. Fausto is one of the most underrated Marines in the league, and he brings everything to the table. I actually, in a one-on-one, would probably pick Fausto over Yosh. But that doesn't answer Prisoner, and you didn't fill the hole with him. You just put guys like, just looking down here, Ice, District, Dave is good. I'll give it you Dave. But District, Ice, and Unborn, I think of the 3 of those guys, you're not close. You still don't have you're still not putting Marines on the top of this that'll post you scores on the top of the scoreboard. And so I think your starting lineup dipped quite a bit there, but man, that Ketis pickup was huge.
Weaknesses, just real quick. Consistency in medding. Ketis is great. Jane is going to start every game, and that's a lot of weight on her shoulders. She's got to step it up. She cannot be the first death. She takes a law or a grenade, that's pretty much a lost battle. She also needs to be more selfish, I would say. I don't want to be harsh on Jane, but I just played with her in so many SBs last season. Sometimes she'll run across the map to heal a Marine that's dead anyway and then die and sacrifice the entire battle because of that. She's got to put the team first, not individual Marines. If they're going to die, just let them die. You know, med your team, like stick with them kind of. You can't heal everyone. Palm is another big question mark for me. He's another guy who's a co-captain. He's the most active player on the squad. He's probably going to want to start every game, and I can see him starting every game. He's a support Marine at best. I'm sorry, Palm. I think you're a great guy, but he's really inconsistent. Again, taking a lot
I
of
agree
bad
with you.
deaths,
I think
taking
he's
the
a
first
support
death in a lot of
Marine, but he can
battles.
play a little better if he's not on those Codeine Dreams. You know what I mean? Like he.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I guess that's kind of similar to Albert in that respect. I mean, they need Palm to recognize his support role and like kind of stay in the back.
Tyrael, your
provide
squad
focused fire,
has a
stay on
little
the
bit of a
main
drug problem, man. This is what we're discovering.
And I don't even drink. That's the problem. I get pissed at them. Going back to what he said about Jane. Jane has EC's her. She is one of the most vocal meds, whether it's on event or using macros. You are constantly updated on location, if she's dead, her energy, everything. And by eliminating the fact of the random lost snipes, really, you got to be against a wall or a rock now to really die to a low. She dies a lot less. Her ratio is going up. Like she was like 6 and 1 in one of the SBs recently. Ketis and her going to be a great team. We do have quite a few Marines we can utilize between Prisoner and Yosh. Prisoner was more of the loss than Yosh. I did like
Agreed.
Yosh. I thought he was very solid. Prisoner and I go way back. We've always been a very good team, and literally like we've always been on the same team together. We were defense together for BDS. We were main and flank together on surgical. And it really sucks that he had to go with his butt buddies over there, play cards with Fausto and Enton. And I actually do think me as well, because I had NT'd for what IV was going to be before the season started. And I can Marine, I guarantee you.
I mean, I think you guys are forgetting Y and Shasta as well, though. I think Y, if he were to join Tank right now,
yeah.
he'd be the second best Marine on the squad. And Y started every single game he was at. You have to replace those kills somehow. Like, is Fausto the answer? I mean, Fausto's really good. He's also not nearly as aggressive. He's also a guy I see kind of as a support Marine. He'll get like a law kill once in a while, but sometimes he'll like walk backwards 2 cords and shoot a law while his team is dying. Whereas Y is like always at the front of the battle, and that's the guy you need to replace. So
I think
I
they
mean, I
took
guess
all the
time will tell,
why and Yosh and you. I think you took all the consistency and went elsewhere. I think Shasta is still inconsistent, but the rest of what's on this lineup, besides I would even say you're consistent based on what else is here. I mean, you got Killer, Albert, Jane, 3 of possibly the most inconsistent players in the game on the same starting lineup. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm worried about that. I don't know what happens there. And I mean, Unborn is the same way. Inconsistent. And also his game, while great in pub, doesn't translate so well to the actual league game. He needs to have a good season for Tank to have a good season. That's a fact. And I just don't know where you get it. And Palm is another inconsistency problem. It's just inconsistent top to board. So, I mean, for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, my rating for this squad right now is a B-. I'm not sure what you give yourself, King, but I'm interested to hear it.
C+.
I'm right there with you guys. I said B-. I think if King goes Ripper, that's like a C to C-. King Marine, B-.
Yeah, I changed my mind about instant vintages or rating. Can I go back to that one?
No, it's done.
No.
No,
Oh, well,
we're leaving that
Prisoner's rating,
controversy
he gets dick minus.
Dick minus. All right, so that's going to be our overall average rating. There is going to be a B- as well. Next up is going to be Warhawks. They were a favorite last season, one of the favorites last season. They're one of the favorites this season. They didn't lose a lot. Not a lot changed from season to season. I think maybe they just got a little stronger, if I'm being honest. And definitely they have a lot more practice. They have maybe the best medic lineup in the game. King, how do you see it?
Their SBs are solid every single time. We SB them more than we do anybody else. And it's not even a 50-50. I'd say it's a 70-30. If we have the right team on, we'll probably go 50-50 with them. I wish they would stick to just one name each, not this 3 or 4 stupid name bullshit that Mecha and friends want to do. Just pick a name. But Marines, yeah, you lose Ninja. Yeah, you lost Dave. You picked up Tactical. That's huge. You pick up Mecha. That's huge. You picked up Apollo. Meh. DP actually has been pulling his own weight as a medic. And then Legacy, he's been a little more active. He definitely needs to be more active. But I honestly think these guys, the way they're playing, the chemistry is key here. And actually, Staley's been pretty awesome if he just doesn't play stupid sapper for fun. But I would honestly say these guys are my number one, number two at the worst right now.
They're definitely better than either a POC or Warhawks were last season, and those were the number 2 and 3 squads. Like the way I see it, you kind of took the best of a POC for sure, and then you added some really key components. Like I guess minus Ninja and Trizens, but Trizens was pretty inactive for Warhawks, and then formed them under the Warhawks name. And
Don't you think Ninja would fit in
to
really
me, like
well?
I've talked to some people. Yeah, yes and no. The thing with Ninja is that like they already have one too many top Marines. Like Ninja can start on any squad, but one of this squad's, I guess, strengths is their chemistry. They've been playing together forever. You have that like trio of Apollo, Mecha, Ernie, all those guys. Like I guess Gift, Fax. I don't know. They hang out outside the game. I see them playing other games together. They're always on their like stupid little aliases. Butt buddies. Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but,
No.
but 100%. And that helps them. Like it gives them natural chemistry in game. No one's afraid to speak up on vent, call people out. I was talking to Paul a little bit about his leading style. I think he's a great leader, and he was saying how their vent is really vocal. Like people are making call outs. Which really, really helps in USL because you can't rely on one person to be watching the whole map, right? So I would say, Tactical is the obvious best Marine on the squad. I think he could be one of the best Marines in the league easily top 5. After that, you have Leak and Mecha that are like solid, like tier 1 players. Mecha is better on EC than KR. He likes to hide behind stuff in Law, which there's a lot of potential for on this map. Apollo is a great leader. One thing with him is that he's very passive sometimes. And that works out really well when you have a lower skilled squad. But I see these guys as, like you said, either number 1 or number 2 going into the season. And I think sometimes they really have to capitalize on having an advantage instead of letting the opponent come to them. So I'm not really sure if that's Apollo's style. Like I'm sure they'll adapt, but I see them playing weaker squads and they'll put up like 60 kills when they could easily be putting up 100 plus. And I don't know if that's like just their style or they don't want to, embarrass anyone. That's fine, but I'd like to see more of a killer instinct from his leading.
Yeah, I think Mecha probably, as far as changing that, what you're talking about right now, I think Mecha's aggression is what they need to go with a little bit more. But I think the rest of them they rope him in a little bit, especially with Fairfax. He's such a mental player. I mean, he's just got a great grasp of the game. I think, first of all, Warhawks, in my mind, has the deepest bench in our league. Every single player on that lineup belongs there, and every single one of those players could play. And I don't think you're going to lose a lot. There's clearly a starting 8 that I would prefer to see, but. You rotate Leak for Legacy, or even DP rotating in is not going to hurt you that bad. I think Tactical is a top 5 Marine right now. I think Mecha is really close, if not there too. I mean, you've got some great players. They've meshed a lot in the offseason. As you were saying, they brought the best over from Apocalypse. They've got. I just think they just put together a great team, and the medics. Oh my God, the medics here. Fairfax, Stav, and Staley, between the 3 of them, that's just crushing. I mean, if you have decent Marines, you're still going to be a good squad. And I mean, they've got everything. They've got the whole package here. Gift, I think he didn't play as well as he could have last season. He's got a lot of upsides and a lot of potential in games to be a breakout player, but he doesn't always do it. And I don't know why. I don't know if that's an aggression issue or what it is, but he's they're going to need a big season from him. I think Warhawks does to really live up to the potential. And Mecca's going to have to come through every single game for them, like he has been. And but other than that, yeah, you got a combination of leadership here, potential leaders and potential starters. I think it's just a good squad all around. I don't really have a lot to say about them as far as negatives. Even Tyrael, what do you see?
Honestly, the only negative I see is not enough Quantum Quack. If he was playing, I mean, these guys automatic win. Just give him the ring. TG, I will say though, he's been the most consistent Marine that I've seen SB of any squad.
You mean since the offseason?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he's been great too.
Any SB. Great too. He has been. Ernie's been great too. Warhawk or Death 4-point number. He actually has been doing really well as well in EC. So all these guys are great. I think the weakness here is going to be number one. Leak should not be on flank. Yes, he can 1 versus 1, but it's very rarely you're going to see just a one-person flank right now on EC. He's getting caught out of position a ton in these SBs, and he just keeps doing it, whether it's him or whoever's sending. And also Mecha loves uniqueness. He wants to be unique. He wants to be the Ripper. He wants to be the Nader. He needs to stay Marine. Yes, he can play those classes, and he can be better than others, but he's such a better Marine at that, so knock it off. These guys, there should never be a support class. No LMG, even 6 Marine, 2 Medic with these guys.
Tyrael, there should never be a support class.
for
Excellent.
Prisoner, do you see a weakness?
Make sure you quote that correctly.
I mean, I do. I'm going to say some weaknesses. Getting over the hump. Like, tell me why Apocalypse was so bad last season. How did they get rolled by 40 by a weak Warhawks team that got destroyed by SFO? Like, what happened there? I didn't see the game, so I'm genuinely curious how they got rolled so bad.
They just got beat. The actual battles themselves, typically, I mean, it started 8v8, as they all do, and then it dwindled typically to about 6v6, and then about 6v6, they rolled them. Warhawks won it. So you'd have, every battle ended at 8-3, 8-4, 8, exactly like that. And that just, before you knew it, like you were saying, they were up 20 kills, and it's like, at this point, it's over.
And that brings me to my next point. Can these guys play from behind? Apollo he's a really great leader, but he's a very passive leader. They're always setting stuff up. They have really good plays, and it works really well if the other squad walks, kind of goes where they're expecting them to go. If they lose the first couple battles, these guys are not that great at pushing. That's why I'm saying they got to step up their killer instincts in SBs. They got to get used to, playing from behind, pushing chokes, not just kind of camping certain spots, moving around the rocks, moving around mid. Very, very rarely will Warhawks walk into the enemy. And when they're forced to do that, you see things get out of hand, like you did with the POC, with the Paul leading last season in that Warhawks game, where truthfully, I don't think that they were necessarily outskilled, but they get down by 20 and they don't know what to do. So I don't know. I just like to see them be more of the aggressors, really be the top squad. Don't be happy with just they're camping in a lot of SBs where other teams are pushing into them, and it's not going to be the same in matches. They lose that first battle, they get out of their comfort zone, I can see them being upset. So I think that that's one thing they need to work on, changing it up a little bit with leading wise.
I think one of their biggest things is when you have a great medic core like they do, you tend to become a little too over-reliant on those medics. And I think that's kind of where they are now. Those Marines are some of the most heal-eating Marines. And I think if one of those medics goes down, you got a problem. If both of those go down, the battle's over. Except for maybe Tactical. Tactical's a little different than the rest in the way he moves. But I mean, I think they're a little too over-reliant on the medic. And if they were conservative with their health, but like you're saying, they got to push at the same time. You got to be smart about your pushes and falls, but you got to be more aggressive as a general rule. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the season. But I think it's Warhawks to lose in a lot of ways because they are starting off so strong. King, what do you rate them?
I'm giving it an A.
Prisoner?
A-.
I also gave them an A-, so I will. That's our average is an A-. Prisoner and I are pretty much caught. We did not talk about this beforehand, correct?
No, I promise.
This is like every single rating pretty much down the book. All right, our last and final squad is going to be Worms. Looking at this lineup, I mean, they don't have any really top tier players, but they've got a good collection of C to high B, maybe even low A players. King, what do you think we're going to see from them this season?
I am most excited about this squad than anybody else. They really do have a strong core. I've seen them SB. It's very fun. One of my oldest friends in infantry, all-around great guy. He gets a lot of shit, shit talk and such thrown at him, and I think it's a little unfair. But you have like SM. SM is a top-tier Marine, always has been. MC very solid as well. Splitta, one of the best 1v1ers. Draco, same thing, very solid. The big one there is going to be Jack, one of the best skirmish players ever, hands down, one of the smartest. That guy is just a god. So if it's truly him and he's active, I think this is going to be a very fun squad to watch. I truly do.
I mean, Jekyll was really good, but not one of the best ever. He's a mouser who had a big resolution before anybody else did. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think the seasons he played Ripper were kind of weak seasons in general, but I do think he was a standout.
He had the highest kills per game as Ripper ever. No one else ever cleared 4. He was at like 4.25. He's amazing.
Kira loves the Rippers.
Go on.
Ripper. I agree with what you said about SM, though. I think like those three guys, if unfaded, are going to be huge for them. And that's what it comes down to, really. I mean, I've seen Split play quite a bit lately. He's not nearly as good as he was, either in SBs or 1v1 when I saw him dueling. And I have not seen Jekyll or SM on in the past 2 or 3 weeks. So if none of those guys log in, if you just kind of cross those names off the roster, you have a really average squad that, to be honest, like I don't see them being much better, if at all better, than Angry Frogs, for example.
Yeah, I'm going to rate them about the same as Angry Frogs, but if you were to ask me specifically, I think Angry Frogs is better. I think our lineup is better. I think our starting lineup is definitely better. We don't go as deep in the bench as they do, and I think that's where they may get us, is if we don't have some of our guys show up. But, I mean, you got some great players. I mean, like we're saying, the Jekyll thing, I don't know how faded he is. I didn't know how to rate him as just a player, and I still don't. I haven't seen him on very much. SM is the same. I haven't seen SM one time since the end of Season 2, but he was plenty active before that. So I'm just waiting for him to just walk in the arena and say, hey, guys, I've been on vacation. But I've listened in on Worms while Splitta was leading, and he was solid, very solid at leading, I would say. He had a better command of the mental game and what was going on than he did as his own player. Because I think he's very rusty as a Marine. But even a rusty Splitta is better than almost any other Marine on that lineup. I think Hop is very underrated. I think I gave him like an 82 in my review. I think they need him to be big this season. Hop needs to collect the body count, because if he doesn't, I don't know where they come up with the kills. I don't know. They're just going to get outgunned one-on-one with just about everybody. But you got guys like Draco and Brian who will come up with surprising games for you, I think. But then you got the other side where you're really weak. I think Slob, I saw him play, I think yesterday yesterday, the day before, really rusty. Tornado, who I don't think is that great of a player right now. I mean, that's kind of the MO of the lineup. I just think that they're missing pieces, and you've got half a squad here. Half a squad including half medics. But they're definitely missing pieces, and I'm not sure how far they can go. What would you say, King, is the biggest weakness you see?
Leadership. I don't know who's leading. I would think it'd be R, or Hop. I'm not exactly certain. I think also Jekyll and SM. I've seen them on, not as much as I'd like to. And then also, if that's truly Kokomo, that can really bring a great medic to their lineup. I would say meds.
I mean, I have great meds written here, so I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Kokomo,
to be
I can
honest,
give you
on
that one.
front.
But have you seen Kokomo on?
I've seen him on a couple
Chris, who
times.
would you play medic?
Slob used to be one of the greatest meds in USL. Like,
I
he
agree with
was
that.
Maddox's right-hand man.
But he wants to Marine now.
Guardian Angel. I mean, if he wants to Marine, that's one story. But that reminds me of someone who wants to Ripper, you know. And sometimes you got to do what's best for the squad, Slob.
Mm-hmm.
So
To win as Ripper.
yeah, no, you play Slob and Ko as med, and Slob needs to unfade a little bit, but even if he can get back to like 90% of his form back in like the Allied Force Maddox days when he was really one of the best medics in USL, if not the best, then these guys have a really, really good starting two medics. Um, I'm a lot more worried about firepower. If they don't have Jekyll or SM, Hop, I agree with you, Rom. He's got to step up his game, but I've been thinking of Hop as a breakout player for the last, 8 years. Every time I see Hop, I'm like, oh, okay, he's good in pub, he's a good dueler, good, like, I mean, he's okay 1v1, like, he holds his own, he doesn't make terrible decisions, but at some point, if he fails to make that jump into, like, the top 20, top 10 Marines, I don't know, like, maybe he's just not that player.
For me too, that's the same thing. I think that's what I'm saying. It's do or die time for Hop. If he doesn't, the squad goes with him because you're not getting that kind of performance out of R or Miz or Gage or Draco or Brian. You're just not. You've got to get those kills out of Hop because he's gonna show up week to week able to do it. Let's say that. You may get a surprise performance out of one of those other guys I mentioned. I think Miz definitely could put up the numbers, but it's a consistency issue again. And I think Splitta, if he leads, I think he's their best choice for leader for my money, and over R definitely. And I think he needs to lead and Marine at the same time. If I compare his game to Legend a lot to Chaos, and I think he's just a poor man's Chaos, and I think he balances them pretty well when he's not rusty. So that's what they need. They need some people to step up, and they need SM to show up real bad. So, this squad could either be bottom of the table and very firmly there, or they could be upsetting every other week. And I would not blink an eye either way. King, what'd you rate them?
I'm going to give him a C.
I say C+. I agree that Splitta is a great leader. I really like the poor man's Chaos comment. Yeah, C+.
I also went with a C. So that's going to give us our average of a C. I just don't know if they're going to be. I just don't know if they can pull it off. I haven't seen SM, and honestly, I don't think he's going to show up the first 2-3 weeks. Maybe he'll come back at some point, but I just don't think they're going to have the firepower the first 2 or 3 weeks to even do it until maybe there's some shakeups in the league and they can pull somebody away from one of these squads that has too many players that are active. Like, I mean, show me. There are so many players in this league that would make this team different. I mean, if they were to pick up somebody like Dinobot or even Big Fat Noob, if he could come over and med if Kokomo isn't active, for example, God, man, that's a great pickup for them. Or Shasta, add Shasta to this lineup. I mean, that's a game changer. And right now Shasta's one of 13 over on the other team. So that's where I'm at on them. But I think it's on Worms to make or break, and I think finding consistent leadership, consistent medics, and a solid lineup that you can be proud of it's a thorough checklist. They're going to have to do all those things to get it going, but maybe they can. I don't know. We'll see. So finishing this off, let me ask you a couple questions. King, going in, would you say that who is your favorite to win the whole thing? Let's just say it that way.
Warhawks.
Warhawks. All right. Prisoner?
I mean, I think you got to pick one of the top 3 squads that we've mentioned, which are Cobra Kai, Warhawks, and IV. If I had to pick one, I'd go with Cobra Kai.
That's exactly what I said. I'm going to have to go with Cobra Kai as of today, but Warhawks could definitely inch in there. I'd like to see Instant Vintage there, but I think that champion loss was huge in terms of just balance of firepower. That upsets the wagon a little bit, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to hang on to the top spot. And I think against Warhawks and Cobra Kai, your guys are going to have your hands full. So I'm going with Cobra Kai as the favorite to win it right now. Would you say that there is – let's talk about dark horses. Who do you expect to overperform? I use this a lot. Outkick their coverage. Who do you think is going to do better than expected this season? Kings, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say Tank and Worms, just because we just needed to get consistent. And now that Albert's back and Extreme's back, I think we can actually get a consistent lineup going in the next week. Worms, same thing, they need consistency. And just going real quick back to what you last said, I just want to interject. One of the reasons that Special Forces was really strong last season were lost nights. There's a lot of open battles. You don't get that as much here on EC, so it's a completely different map, completely different playing field. Cobra Kai's squad battles have not been as strong, and even picking up Champion, I just don't see it being that big of a difference because, again, he's mainly, lost night for kills, pick off the weak ones if possible, run away at the first sign of danger. So I think the laws were a big thing on KO. New map, new game plan for everybody.
I can see IV surprising you guys, especially Tyrael, who gave us a B-. But, I mean, if I can see us as top 3, so that's not really a dark horse. I kind of agree with Tank in the sense that I do think they have the pieces and the leadership and like the game sense and experience, I guess, to pull off some of those upsets. I know Tank last season pulled off a lot of upsets and were really underrated in the preseason rankings. But at the same time, I can kind of see that going the other way as well, depending on Albert's activity and who they start, with what we talked about earlier with the codeine or whatever drug of choice. For me, I think that I can honestly see Legends being a bit of a surprise. You throw in the Uzo factor there. I could see Legends beating Worms if Jekyll and SM don't show up. Definitely, and they have their best lineup in. I see them S being more than anyone currently. Like, they're probably the most active squad right now, and I could see Legends, definitely beating Statutory Apes. I can see them upsetting Angry Frogs and Worms, and that's pretty good for a squad that, when they were first formed, most people thought that they would just be a rollover for everybody else.
And even look at Legends right above us right now. They got 10 people on SB, and so even right now they're active.
Dead on. I'm going with the Instant Vintage, and Legends. That's exactly what I would say. I would say Instant Vintage. If you guys get a solid medic core, and you got the Marines, just put together the medic core, and who knows? I may be talking about you guys being the favorite by mid-season. It could change in a day. So I don't think I even need to keep going with that. Legends, though, I absolutely agree. I think right now, I think they're a lock to get one win over with our favorite Statutory Apes. And then I think you're right. They're going to challenge Angry Frogs. They're going to challenge Tank, and I think they're also going to challenge definitely Worms. So it's going to be interesting to see what their season does. It could go either way. I would also like to throw Angry Frogs on there, but I think it's really 50-50. It really depends on so many factors coming together right now, and I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see. For my sake, I really hope we turn into a dark horse. Right now, I would say Instant Vintage and Legends would be mine. Is there anything else either you guys want to add before we close this out?
Ripper sucks.
For all of us here, for Prisoner, for King, for myself, Romulocks, thank you guys for listening to the official power rankings for Free Infantry's USL Season 3. We will see you guys when the league kicks off next weekend. Thank you again.